Hey guys, super cool you joining the chat room. I know there's plenty of you who haven't joined yet. So go on the chat room. It's not like a regular webinar where you just sit down, listen. Sometimes there is great value from people interacting in the room. So go for it, join the room. It's a hip chat room. There is a quick link to it, which is chat.quickmail.io, and then you will be directed directly to the chat room. Trent, super cool to see you, man. There's a lot of good names of people actually recognize. If you guys can just for the panelists, if you guys can just say where you're coming from and what's your business, what kind of industry you're in, that'd be awesome. Steli, super cool to have you, man.
Hey guys, good to be here. My internet is like really bad. I'm having a horrible internet day today, but well, it looks like I'm in. Just
Awesome.
doesn't select the right webcam,
So,
but I think we'll survive that.
did you had snow today? Maybe it's the snow. Did you had snow in Germany? I had some in. It's like what the fuck? It's like is it spring or is it or is it winter? I'm still not sure anymore.
Yeah, it's crazy. No, there was no snow. There was a lot of rain. It's very cold here. I didn't anticipate it to be that cold. But then again, I'm going to be gone tomorrow, and then I'm going to be back in a few weeks. But yeah, this week was a lot colder than I hoped it would be.
What time do you fly tomorrow morning?
Not morning. I'm flying at 2 p.m.
Oh, lucky. I fly at at 9, so I have to wake up early.
Where do you fly?
I just go and have fun in Spain, so it's not quite the same sort of travel, but hey, still work and still count, so still take the plane in the end. Sam, super good to have you too, man.
What's up? How are y'all? Sorry I'm late.
So did you make sure your computer
John.
won't crash this time?
I got 60% of battery, so it should be good.
You can't do the same trick twice.
You what?
You can't do the same trick twice.
No trick, unfortunately. We had to buy a couple new computers. What's going on?
Nathan is putting his pants. It took more than 60 seconds. I'm super disappointed.
No, I was back. I was back at like 57 seconds.
Damn, it's so dangerous when you don't
Can
have
you
the
see me?
webcam. Yeah, we can hear you well.
Can you see me?
No, we can't.
Oh.
Yay! Awesome! Super cool to have you guys. It's so super cool. Okay, so yeah, we're a little bit late, but anyway, so it's super informal in that sense. I always screw up all the introductions, so don't worry about that if you screw your one up. We have a chat room, which is chat.quickmail.io. It's a hip chat room where people can interact, let us know, where you guys are coming from, what your type of business. Sometimes there is great interaction between people. And as a panelist, you don't have to join. If you want to, if you're feeling it's a bit boring or you want to interact with the crowd, then you're more than, more than welcome to join. And if you want to purely focus on just giving great answers, you can just turn it off. This is no problem at all. I have one guy going to summary all the questions for you guys. So in the chat room, if you have a specific question, then I'm going to ask them at the end if they stick around. And just mention who you want the question to. So you could say all or Sam or Max or Steli, Nathan, whoever, and then you just put your question. And I got my wingman. He's going to summary all the questions so I can pick it up very quickly. So hey, cool, super great to have you all here. I'm going to, it's not about me, so I'm not going to chat too much, hopefully. I'm going to give you maximum time for speaking, which is not much because you're obviously four panelists. Don't worry about, cutting each other off. It's fine, just go with the flow. If you want to say something, just say it. Usually that works very well. So, so this is the talk you guys all agreed on coming. I think I've been super lucky because I actually wanted to get you all four, and I just missed one. So I'm just dropped again. I'll see, hopefully he can come back. But super happy that you guys say yes, and because you were my first choice, so it's always good when you don't have to go to the second choice. But I didn't have to deal with much objection, so good stuff. Thank you, guys. So here's 4 people. There's obviously Sam missing here. How about you? We start by a small introduction. So if you guys got like 1 or 2, a few sentences. I know, Nathan, you're probably in transition, but I'm sure you're going to make something out of it. And yeah, so whoever wants to start. Shall we say the first one who came? Max, do you want to start and then just introduce a bit to the audience who you are, what you do, and what's your sort of expertise in sales?
Yeah, Max Houchler, CEO of Sales Hacker Inc. Our mission is to basically help everybody in B2B sales understand kind of the new advancements in the sales world today. It's a really great time to be in sales, obviously. So there's a lot to discuss. There's very few colleges that have college, accredited courses in sales. So there's got to be one place to learn all about it, and we're trying to be that place, learning from kind of your peers and practitioners and leaders in the space that are doing it day in and day out. So saleshacker.com wrote a book called Hacking Sales. Was the first sales guy at a company called Udemy on the education marketplace. You can take a look at them. They're doing pretty well now. But yeah, excited to be on here.
Yeah, good course, by the way. I heard really good things about the Udemy course. I think, Steli, you also got a Udemy course, right? Do you want to go next?
Yep, that's true.
You're next in my
Sure.
webcams list.
Sure. So my name is Steli. I'm the CEO of a company called Close.io. So the way Close.io came about is we started an outsourced sales team on-demand service to B2B startups in Silicon Valley that were venture-backed. The company was called Elastic Sales, and we did sales for over 200 different venture-backed startups. And from day one, we built an internal piece of software to help our salespeople outsell their competitors and do really well. And in January 2013, that product became so good that we decided to launch it, and it quickly kind of outgrew the services business that we were running, and is now the main thing that we're doing. So Close.io is an inside sales CRM. If you do lots of email, lots of call, we build a pretty powerful CRM for you. We have many, many customers. We're very profitable. We're growing around the world, and we love sales. I, as an entrepreneur, my entrepreneurial superpower is selling, if I have any. So I'm talking to founders every day about sales. I'm talking to salespeople every day about it, and whatever I can do to help and be useful is exciting to me.
So there's plenty of things that you're mentioning, like highly, super profitable and stuff like that. I'm sure, I'd love to grill you on that, but instead you could just join, Nathan podcast, and then just because he will grill you on that. So good stuff on your podcast, Nathan. So can you tell us a bit, the context, and what you're up to now?
Well, first off, I have to say I'm impressed as hell that Sam's here. 12 days before a conference is going to have hundreds and hundreds of people at it, and he's awake and he's looking good, and I'm sure HustleCon's going to be a big success.
It's in 2 weeks, right?
Thank you. Yeah, it's on 17 days away.
Awesome, and you guys, you don't need to take any notes of any resource. I'll just publish the list of all the resources that you guys said.
Yeah, so you guys have to check out HustleCon. I also have to just shout out to Steli. I was with the company briefly called followup.cc, and we were beating the hell out of our competitors in the enterprise space because we were able to basically just tie Close.io into so many of our back-end sales channels. It made the whole process super, super efficient. So I'm thrilled to be here with a bunch of folks. Max, we haven't met too much yet, but I'm excited to learn more about you. And Jeremy, I'm glad we kind of passed each other in Cancun last year, and I'm excited to obviously connect with you more. Yeah, no worries. But guys, my story real quick. At 19, launched a software company called Heyo. It's a pure SaaS play, software as a service. So I was thinking about things like lifetime value, CAC, ARPU, LTV, things like that. We raised $2.5 million worth of venture capital from a Forbes billionaire based off a cold email that I sent, which was a really interesting story. And then also had angels involved like David Cohen at Techstars, Paul Singh from 500 Startups, some people that I just learned a lot from and I'm still learning from. So when I was about 20 or 21 years old, we grew that business to about 25 people, 10,000 monthly paying customers with ARPUs anywhere between $10 a month to $300 a month. We grew up to about $5 million in sales, and just recently sold it to our #1 competitor called Vodago in Denver, Colorado. So that happened in February of 2016. I'm now just being very, very selfish with my time. A lot of people, Jeremy, think I did the podcast for a lot of exposure. The truth is, when I send a cold email to somebody like Sam or Stelly or somebody, they would never respond when I just said I wanted 15 minutes to talk to them. But when I changed the cold email to, I have a podcast, I'd love to interview you and feature you, response rates went up incredibly. So I said, oh, I just got to tell everyone I have a podcast. And so that's how the podcast got created. But it's a hard-hitting show. I mean, I have people on, and my first question is, how much money did you make last year or last month? How did you do it? What are margins, CAC, ARPU? What's your equity split? What was your last valuation? That kind of stuff. So we've had billionaires like Tim Draper on, VC in the Valley. We've had SaaS entrepreneurs like Alan Brock come on, who runs Vroom, which did $900 million last year, all the way down to startup SaaS CEOs. So it's a daily 15-minute show. It's called The Top Entrepreneurs on iTunes, and I'm focusing on that right now because it keeps my learning velocity really high.
Awesome. Thanks for that. And if you want to know more about latent stuff, it's because he's a king of copywriting. Sam, so big stuff coming up. Do you want to tell a bit more about that? And what's your context for coming to that call and talking about sales?
Can you guys hear me? My internet keeps going in and out.
It's your turn, Sam. Go for it, man. Floor is yours.
Okay, are we working?
Yeah.
Oh, god damn. Sorry. This is like the most, I don't know what's more frustrating, bad internet or traffic. They're both horrible. So, am I up, I guess? It just broke up.
Yep, go for it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, sorry about that. It's going to be a little bit of a comedy session because you're going to be seeing me cussing because I forget that people are watching. My name is Sam Parr. I'm the founder of this company called The Hustle. We're a media company with the goal of becoming the next CNN. So we launched on August 1st. We also have a popular conference called HustleCon. Last year we were like 550 people. This year's 1,500 people. So we work hard on making our events bigger and bigger. And in terms of selling, our main business is selling advertising and selling sponsorships and tickets. So our specialty is email marketing and creating a really big email list and trying to get as many sales from that, whether it be through advertising or from tickets. I believe right now we're the fastest newsletter ever, I think. Well, one of the fastest, I would imagine. Maybe there's some more that I'm not thinking of. But we're at like 150 subscribers in our first 7 months or so. So we've got a big audience, and our goal is to convert them into fans of our content.
Awesome, thanks. So so basically we're going to have like 7 questions, and we may have also some follow-up questions depending on the time. So we're just going to go right in the heart of the questions. We'll start with the first one. What's your personal approach and mindset when it comes to selling? Who wants to go have a stab at it? Otherwise, I have to pick. So just go ahead.
Jeremy, what was the question?
So I'm not sure if you can see the screen, but what's your personal approach and mindset when it comes to selling? It's just like sort of broad general, how you're approaching stuff and how it's different.
I mean, I'd say that the general approach is, how do I create a win-win here where I'm going to have this person's business for a long time to come? So I wouldn't necessarily go into it, with the end goal of closing the deal in mind, but, having the steps defined as far as what I need to do to get this person's business, and then how I need to structure it so that this person is going to give me their business over and over again. For example, even right now selling sponsorships, my goal is to make them money when they sponsor my conference and and make sure they hit their goals. So what are their goals? What will they call success? And if it's successful, how do they plan to reinvest? What will they reinvest? So defining that up front and then walking through that with them. But basically, my mindset, my approach is, all right, how do we create a win-win since this is going to be a long-term, successful partnership?
Thanks, Max. Who's
Should
next?
I go next?
Yeah, go for it,
Do
Stelly.
this,
Don't wait.
very sequentially. Like it's always going to be rotating from one end to the other.
It doesn't matter.
All
Go
right.
ahead.
So Sam, I feel your pain. I have a very bad internet day until now, where you make me feel better about myself, because this is working surprisingly well.
Are you in San Francisco? Maybe it's something to do with this horrible weather.
No,
No, it's
I'm
just
actually in
close to me,
Berlin.
actually. It's closer to me
Yeah, I'm
than
in Berlin.
everyone else here.
Yeah. My approach. So one thing that I like to keep in mind that I feel is helpful. It's basically saying what Max said in a different way, but it's a good framework for me. Is if you think there's kind of some personality test. I don't know where it came from. It's an old one, but there's like a quadrant. There's like 4 different personality types. There's like hostile strength. People that want to like kill you and take over the world. They're very strong, but they're very aggressive, and they're in it for themselves. There is, hostile weakness. There's friendly strength, and there's friendly weakness. If you think about hostile strength, that's the typical kind of old school salesperson, maybe the Wolf of Wall Street, out there to take over the world and kill it, and take over all the customers and kill the competition. These guys are, this archetype of salesperson might have been super unpleasant, and nobody likes to have these type of people around, but they're still a lot of times very successful because they're aggressive and they bully people into decisions. If you look at the polar opposite, you look at friendly strength, or friendly weakness, rather, those people should be the most popular people on the planet, but unfortunately they aren't because they act weak. And a lot of times these people are the people that are being taken advantage of. Like you, even if you're a nice person, might take advantage of somebody that's friendly and weak just because of how interpersonal and human interaction and dynamics go. So think about like your favorite or not so favorite, like, I don't know, arts teacher, somebody that's always like apologetic to be alive, and always like very soft-spoken, always like very, very careful and afraid. These people don't do well in life, right? They should, but unfortunately they don't. So the type of person I think that does best and should do best in the framework that I use for selling is friendly strength. So you want to be friendly, you want to be out there to create win-wins, like Max said. You want to make the world a better place, you want to help your customers win and be successful, but you do it from a position of strength. The best framework I can use for that is that of a good parent, right? Or a good doctor or a lawyer, some expert. If you think about a parent, and you deal with children. I have 2 little boys. Sometimes, usually late in the day, they're hungry, they're tired. They go nuts, right? They go crazy. They might start throwing things around. They act totally insanely. As a parent, you don't start screaming back at them and going, when they go, "I hate you, Daddy," you don't go, "I hate you back. You don't know what I did for you." Like, you don't go nuts on them. You realize those are your children. They mean well. They might not be in the best state of mind. And you tell them, "You know what, buddy, that's all good, but here's what's going to happen next. We'll put on the pajamas, we're going to read a book, and you're going to sleep," right? And you don't negotiate with them. You just tell them what needs to happen, and you do it. I think that in sales, that's the right mind frame to have. You're an expert. Step number 1 is to come from a loving place and mean well and try to help your customers succeed. You try to identify and qualify them. Can we really help them? What is their situation? What's going on? Will our product or service really make a meaningful difference? But once you've identified that, that's when you need to be an expert and come from a position of strength and tell them what to do. Don't ask them. Don't beg them for it. Just tell them what to do, and tell them what to do with clarity and with conviction, because that's what people are craving for. And I think that's when you're going to do best when it comes to selling. Try to make the world a better place, but do it from a place of strength.
Yeah, for me on my end, I tend to be the more aggressive nature when it comes to just getting things done. I'm the guy that's going to say, "Hey, if you don't sponsor, we have 3 other people," because I like to give myself 52 card deck to play with even before I ask for sponsorships. So, I'll have people already lined up that have expressed interest, and then when the thing does go live, whether it's a conference or a book or a webinar or whatever, kind of use scarcity to get the deal done. So that's how I tend to operate. That's actually how I sold the business. We put which I think is maybe the ultimate. Many people would say that's maybe the ultimate sale. but we put an email out that basically said, hey, we're considering pivoting the business and shutting down. We knew that that would create interest in the BD, the business development minds from the people, Hootsuite and other companies that might acquire us. We ended up getting 4 or 5 LOIs, letters of intent, back from that. My immediate reply was, hey, these are not really that competitive. I'm making a decision this Friday. Is this your best offer? Using those 5 words, is this your best offer, created uncertainty in the mind of the BD guy. The BD guy's already sold the offer to their executive team. That's the only way they could have submitted the LOI, so their ego's attached to it. And so almost out of those 4 people that sent in the LOI, 3 of them wrote back when I said, is this your best offer, doubled their offer. And I said, hell, if I can double my offer with 5 words, I'm going to use those 5 words over and over again. So what did I write back to everybody? I said, hey, we're a day away from making a decision on Friday. You're not really that competitive yet. Is this your best offer? And of those 3, one of them caught on and got smart and said, yes, asshole, this is my best offer. Okay, the other 2 wrote back and doubled their offer, right? So we ended up with 2 very strong LOIs. One of them was Votigo, which we ended up selling. But I tend to go, I have a big, big ego. I like using my ego to my advantage, but my COO was a Mormon pastor, right? So I have people around me that keep my ego in check. And so I think selling is about helping people understand what they want, getting them emotionally connected, and then closing a deal done and maximizing the sale.
Well, that's going to be super interesting because you guys got different point of view on stuff. It all converge to getting sales in the end. Stelly, do you want to have like a second go, or did you, just drop from the internet? Because now you're back on the right side in my list, in my order of people to talk.
That was my super secret plan to take over Sam's spot. No, I just lost
tell me,
internet
oh, I forgot to say something. That's fine. You don't have to,
No.
rely to those tactics.
No meaning attached to it, but I'm gonna keep doing it now that that I caught up. No, I just lost my internet for a second.
Yeah, no worries. Sam, that's your turn. Go for it, man.
Yeah. In terms of mindset, I agree with Nathan. So what we do is, when I was a kid, someone once told me, "You never let go of one branch, holding on to another." And so, in making deals a lot, I've noticed that people make the mistake of hearing someone say, like, I'm interested, and they automatically assume that that means a yes. And so what we've trained our people and what we do is we go after tons of different people. So our mindset is to have tons of different people who we think are about to say yes. And then if they all say yes, that's either good, or if we only have one thing to sell, then it's we just apologize because it's a lot easier to ask for forgiveness. So that's usually what we do as well. We have multiple deals going for the same thing at one time. Sometimes we'll tell people, sometimes we won't. And then more so with mindset, when we take a lot of like recent college grads and hire them, and when we're training them how to be a good salesperson, sometimes the analogy we use, if it's a guy, this is very much like dating. It's like hitting on a girl. If you're a girl, it's very much like you're trying to meet a guy, which is act like you have something amazing, and in our case we do. I mean, so you actually have to have a good product, but then there's no need to act desperate and kind of play a little bit hard to get, and typically that works.
Got it. So let's move on to the second question. That was sort of a warm-up question. So again, touching on mindset, what's the biggest limiting belief that you had to personally overcome? So some of you may have touched to some of that in terms of, saying that a yes is still not a sale or stuff like that. So what's your biggest limiting belief that you had to personally overcome to become a great salesman? Because I assume that all of you four are already great salesmen. So I'm sure you were not born like that. Or maybe Nathan, he's a robot when it comes to...
No, I was architecture. Architecture people are notorious for being shitty salespeople that don't make a lot of money, right? Because they like beautiful designs.
My bad, Nathan. My bad.
Yeah, it was definitely, I would tell you, there was a lifeguard.
Go for it on this one. You're the first one.
Sorry. Yeah, there was definitely a lifeguard in my gene pool to that degree. But ultimately, the only way you can maximize selling is to understand if you lose everything, actually convince yourself that you did lose everything and go live a day like you lost everything. Meaning, if you had no house, like where would you find shelter from a rainstorm? Well, I'm in downtown Austin. I know many overpasses. I'd be totally fine. Like, where do people dump their old mattresses? mattresses, like you know you can sleep on the mattress. Where does the sushi shop put their extra rice at night, right? You know you're going to eat that rice. So once you, and then if you even take it a step further and brainwash yourself and get comfortable actually living that for a day, when you get on a sales call and you're asking for someone to buy your $10,000 annual plan, you don't give a shit if they say no. You're just going to go to the next person. And you know, if you lose everything and piss off everyone and the world blows up, you're still going to be able to live under the overpass eating the extra rice from the sushi shop.
So it's just basically, you know, accepting that you could lose everything, and that was your sort of limiting belief.
It's not just accepting it. It's actually literally brainwashing yourself that you could be comfortable in that scenario, because then you become very dangerous. You'll go to try anything once you know that if you lose everything, you'll be comfortable.
Got it.
That's a pretty good one.
Yeah, love it too. Sam, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. So I've got an easy one. This one. This is something that I've had from day one of being an entrepreneur. So I think that I've read a lot of books, and I've been around a lot of people, and have experienced myself where if you're relatively charming and you know how to use words properly, you can convince people to do like a lot of crazy stuff, whether it's buy your thing or join your cult, or like people like are able to do this. And so something that I struggled to get over was I can convince someone to do this thing. Now, the thing that I want them to do, I need to make sure that it's a total win for them and completely worth it. So if I'm selling them something, I got to make sure that the product that they're buying is amazing. So even though sometimes I'll say to myself, like early on, and when I first started businesses in college, when like I would get my first sale, I'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe I pulled that off. But then eventually I was like, man, I want to get into the mindset where I'm not pulling something off, like where it's like, this is a great deal. Like I would buy this. And so my limiting belief, and I compare it to making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Like when my mom would do it, it would always taste a lot better because she did it. But because I'm the one who's like going in and like I know the ingredients going into it, and sometimes it's not terribly hard. I'm like, man, like I hope these guys are still getting a good deal, because the sandwich never taste as good when I make it, because I know like what went into doing it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so my limiting belief is it's like going to like a diner. Like most like diners, like it's just like normal crappy food that you can make at home, but always when someone does it for you. And so the limiting belief that I had to get over was knowing that what I am selling is worth buying, regardless if I can convince someone to buy it or not.
Brilliant, brilliant. Stelly, go for it. You're next, man. What was your limiting belief?
So I think it was I'm not sure if it was a belief, but the limiting factor, I think personally for me, was consistency. So I've always been a great salesperson. Great being defined not by being great at sales. I was always a convincing human being, let's just say it this way. So I was always able to be charismatic and get my way in the short term. But what I always struggled with was being consistent. So for most of my entrepreneurial and sales career, I had these amazing performances, amazing week, shitty week, incredible week, horrible week. I had this very up and down kind of performance, and on average, I'd still do really well. So on one way, I would rationalize myself and go, well, I'm still crushing it. But on the other hand, I would look in the mirror and I would never be happy with myself, right? You just can't fool yourself to that degree. And I always knew I could do more if I didn't have these constant times where I didn't show up and didn't deliver what I promised. So it took me many, many years to get over that. And what happened for me was realizing that I don't have to feel like something to do it. So for most of my career, I've been trying to kind of force myself not to feel a certain way. So I'll give you an example. I'll have a day like today, for instance, where a bunch of things didn't go my way. I'm running around in a new city. The co-working space doesn't have the internet. I have a cold. I come into the Airbnb. The internet here doesn't work well. It's fucking 8 p.m. I'm kind of hungry. I'm a little cranky, and I have this webinar thing on my calendar. Back in the day, yeah, what I would have done is I would have canceled it. I would have sent you an email saying,
thanks, Stelly.
Too bad.
I thought it was just for me, but it was just for being consistent. Okay, no, I got it now.
Yeah, I'm sorry. But it was like, I would have sent an email. Sorry, the internet is not working. I'm in Berlin. I have
You
a
did.
quick enough.
You did. You
I'll,
did.
I'll join next time, right? In your case, I actually just gave you a warning, but I was still here trying to make this work. And
It's true. It's true.
and what would happen is, like, I didn't feel like doing this thing necessarily. So I would, because I didn't feel like something, I just wouldn't do it. And then the problem is I would cancel the meeting or the call or the webinar or whatever. And what would happen next? I'd feel even shittier about myself than before, which would then make me cancel the next thing. And then the next thing. And like a bad morning or a bad moment would turn into a bad week or a bad month. And so I was always kind of at the mercy of my own emotions. If I didn't feel like something, I wasn't doing it. And then I just felt bad about myself, which just spiraled out of control. And my way of kind of overcoming this was, I heard this quote once. It's not profound, but it was to me at that moment, was that the difference between the hero and the coward is not that the hero feels no fear and the coward is afraid. They are both afraid. The hero acts despite her fear when the coward is held back by it. And to me, something really clicked, and I realized, you know what? If I feel shitty or depressed or whatever else in the morning or before doing something, I don't have to be the victim of that. I can act despite that. So, you know, incorporated a personal mantra which just goes, shut the fuck up and do it anyways. And that's kind of what I'm telling myself multiple times a day. I'm like, I don't feel like doing this webinar thing. Shut the fuck up and do it anyways. But you're going to do a bad job. You have a cold and you're hungry and the internet is bad. Who gives a fuck? Do it anyways. Well, and I can have a little bit of like back and forth, and eventually I just do it. And then I feel pretty okay about myself because I kept my word. And then I do the next thing. And then I ask myself, what else did I want to get done today that I can get done right now? And then that bad little moment turns into a great moment and a better moment, a great day and a great week. And that has really brought consistency to my sales game and to my life. And that has made all the difference to me.
Got it. There is a common theme about, you know, who cares? And then let's do it anyway. What about you, Max?
Entrepreneurs make good salespeople because they're usually really good and like passionate about the product. The problem is you really get high and low. You know, so to Stelly's point, just to add on what he was saying, you know, you gotta have thick skin when you're in sales. And if you're an entrepreneur who gets really high highs and low lows, it's tough to have that thick skin when you go and deal to deal and you're getting a bunch of no's in a row. And you know, sometimes you just gotta get up, pace around, get out the door, do something else. But I'd say, you know, separate to that, my limiting belief was I was a terrible student in high school. I got a college degree, but it was a freaking joke. I was a terrible writer. My vocabulary. Arizona State, but I took like almost all my classes online. I basically like half my college degree. That's a story for a different time. But I got like a decently thick New York accent. I don't have like an expansive vocabulary by any means. I was a terrible writer, and a lot of what I learned by just doing. I mean, you're just throwing yourself into it, figuring it out as you go, realizing that in sales, you know, showing off your vocabulary is actually a huge negative. People use the words utilize when they can just use the word use, and it makes it a lot easier for somebody to read or understand what you're saying as you're talking to that person. And then as far as the writing goes, almost all of the writing that they tried to teach you in high school is not what you would use to write an email or have a conversation with someone. So a limiting factor and a limiting belief for me was that I didn't have this education and that I couldn't keep up with people when it came to the conversation via, you know, phone or email because, you know, I basically had to like fake it till I made it. And then, you know, throwing yourself into the fire and like learning how to write cold emails, learning how to structure these conversations and have these conversations and, you know, the type of basically like psychologically what's going to make people act. You don't need any of that stuff. You don't need to be a really good student or book smart or anything like that to be good at sales. To actually, I would say that, you know, if you focus on that stuff too much, you're actually probably going to be worse at sales than the other person.
Yeah, it's super inspiring to hear you guys, you know, overcoming your limiting belief to reach success. Let's move on to the next question. So question 3. So now we talked a bit about you guys. How do you actually perceive the market? What are the latest trends in sales? What's currently dying, and what do you think is timeless? Shall we start with, who did we start with last time? So, yeah. let's do Nathan again then.
Okay, I mean, yeah. So like, by the way, I don't study sales a lot. I'm not one of those guys that studies spin selling by Neil Rackham, and I don't have post-it notes flying around all over the place. I just do what works. And I'm also, I mean, look, part of what I think is going to happen in sales over the next 10 to even 5 to 10 years. But one of the reasons people hate hearing no is typically because they've already put a huge sunk cost into something. So like if you've already invested 10 grand on an engineer, 2 grand on a designer to put up your, or actually let me use Sam. Sam will be an example for this, right? Let's say you're doing a conference for the first time, and the first thing you do is go book the venue. You put a down payment for 50 grand, and you buy the audio and the people producing, and that's 10 grand. Sam is now like in a position where like he feels like he has to sell stuff, and getting a no, he may or may not take personally because he's put his own capital on the line. When I would bet, Sam can confirm or deny this, what the much smarter thing to do is to pre-sell, right? Like build a big waiting list and then open up the pre-sale, right? Just say it's going to be in Oakland, California, right? So they know what airport to fly into. And then if you don't get, 300 sales for $397 a pop, you just refund everybody and you say, sorry, I couldn't get the event venue that I wanted that was going to make this event spectacular. I want this to be spectacular if you're going to come, so here's your money back. I apologize, right? I mean,
well, we do something very similar to that, but it's on the other end. It's you find a brand who wants to meet people and have them pay for the costs up front. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so Sam, I just use it as an example because it's convenient and you're here and you guys are just absolutely crushing it. But you can do this anywhere in life. In other words, if you can just figure out how to shorten the cycle between you putting $1 up and you getting your first dollar of revenue, and with the tools that are out there today and our ability to connect to anyone, that should almost be zero for any project you're working on. So I think a big trend you're going to see in sales are the people that are going to win are the people that understand how to build and test ideas kind of quickly in the market, who can build the biggest waiting list, and then who's great at using urgency and scarcity in a one-to-many kind of format, which you can do things like using merge tags and emails to make things seem very customized to drive a lot of sales. And so I think that's a trend you'll probably continue to see. I think the guy that is, the top 1% closer at Salesforce and has the big rings on his fingers and the Rolex watch, that guy is going to be phasing out over the next 10 years.
Got it. Sam, do you want to go next?
Yeah, this is a good question. I'm not sure if I have a great answer. It's something that's interesting that I've thought about. One thing that I personally don't know much about, but I keep seeing it everywhere, and it's similar to what Nathan said, is crowdfunding. I keep seeing all these startups that already have funding or already have a great following using sites like Indiegogo and Tilt and things like that. I can't tell if that's a pro or a con, or if it's good or bad, because it seems some of these companies will get so many sales that they get screwed over and they can't deliver on their product.
Yeah.
But this is a trend. I don't know. Maybe you guys could tell me. It seems relatively new, but so many freaking people are doing crowdfunding, and I can't tell if it's good or bad. I know there's these guys who Chubby's Shorts. They initially sold a lot of their items. They're sold only when it crosses like a 200 order threshold, and then they go into production. That seems like it's just so common now, and that's really interesting. So I don't know if that's going to be a good or bad thing, but for consumer items, crowdfunding seems like it's very, very popular.
What do you see dying then, Sam?
What do I see dying?
Yeah, like the old car seller man, that sort of thing. It's already dead, but what do you currently see dying?
Yeah, so I live in San Francisco, so there's a ton of venture-funded companies. And if you spend money on Facebook ads, you're going to get a ton of sales. Unfortunately, not a lot of people do it profitably. So I think having huge marketing spends to get customers is going to be going down fast, at least in the venture-funded sector. I think that's going to go down because it's It's very easy to buy a ton of traffic if Facebook is making people pay more and more for traffic or for to get leads. And in my opinion, that's going to go down big time.
Interesting. Study before you cut again. You should have waited to speak first, then cut, and then come back.
I will tell that to the internet provider of this. So,
give me
in the meanwhile, so I don't know. I mean, I'm much more interested in what's timeless than what is a trend. I think that one thing that I see is with the abundance of information and data and all the stuff you can find out about prospects before interacting with them, I think one trap people fall into is that they do a little bit too much homework. And they do that because they want to be really well prepared, and I think it's smart to do that, but I think you can overdo it. And sometimes when people overdo it, it's probably because they are trying to protect themselves from failure, right? I want to know everything about Nathan, so when I go on the call with him, he can't but buy from me. And usually humans will then make the mistake of like overusing their knowledge and pretending it's truth. And just because I saw Nathan retweet something may or may not mean something really meaningful. So I jump on the call and go, oh, Nathan, I saw that you also really like this basketball team, and it's just like my best friend who's da-da-da. And then Nathan is like the entire time thinking, what the fuck is this guy talking about? It was my friend who retweeted that using my phone. And it's like, I hate that basketball team. It's like the foot of the mouth is you start blabbing out all these facts you know about this person rather than trying to get to know them, right? And a little bit of research might be smart, but you really want to spend some time asking questions and then listening and caring about the answers and trying to meet the human versus trying to use all that data to impress them on how much you already know about their life. The other thing is, one interesting thing that started happening recently, and I think that's going to be a big trend moving forward, so I'll break that thought here and I'll see what you guys think about this, is that, well, I think what's timeless is that humans like to buy from other humans. And one interesting thing that I've seen recently is that there's a big trend in the Bay Area, especially, to use a virtual assistant. And there's also even kind of some new services now where it may be one human, but in most cases it's many, many humans that are acting like one. So there's one person that acts like that acts like a personal assistant to you and has one consistent name and email address. But it's actually 20 different people that use that account to schedule calls for you. There's even services in the Bay Area that use some humans, but also some artificial intelligence. I don't know what exactly that means, but some automated writing to schedule things. And one funny thing that has happened is that for a while now, when I talk to people, and Mary, who's helping me a lot with like scheduling things as a real human being, is putting things on the calendar. When I talk to people, at some point they ask me, when I go, hey, can you ping Mary again and find us another time to talk? They go, hey, Sal, I wanted to ask you, is Mary real? Right? Or they ask me, is Mary a real person? Pick them up, I go, why? Right? First time it happened, I didn't think about it too much, but it has happened now like 6 or 7 times. I'm like, holy shit, at some point, just like you go to Whole Foods and it's like certified organic, I think we're going to communicate and have like a certified human sign to know, is the person I'm emailing with, is that a real human being? Is the person on the phone that I'm talking to really a human being? Or am I talking to, a collection of humans or some machine or some automation? I don't know why. I mean, we can go on and on why people care about this and why it matters to them. But I find it fascinating that in the Bay Area, people are already starting to be freaked out by these, women that act like personal assistants, and they don't know, is this Mary a real human being? So when I talk to her and we make jokes, am I joking to a machine or what's going on? I think that we're going to use technology. We're going to use a lot of technology, but as long as humans are still around, humans are going to want to buy from other humans. And I think it's smart to spend some time to get to know the human across you versus trying to use data and technology to then pretend that you've figured it already out and they can't but love you and buy everything from you.
Yes, yeah, really quick, Jeremy, I completely disagree with that. Just when I look at my total expense over the past month, I mean, I am buying...
You don't like the basketball team he was referring to, sorry?
Say that again, Jeremy?
You don't like the basketball team he was referring to?
No, no, I'm talking in general about the human question.
Yeah.
You know, I think what people are actually asking when they say, is Mary real? People assume that a human is the person that's going to be able to help them the most, right? That's just the assumption. It's like you sit on a waiting call and you're like, gosh darn, I just want to talk to a freaking human. These automated responses are not actually that efficient. But the fact of the matter is, companies like Amazon have figured out exactly what you want using technology. And so if the robotic solution helps me fix my problem faster than a human, I have no problem joking with a robot all day long, as long as it's faster than joking with the human, right? So like I
Yeah,
think
but that's for buying an Amazon Echo or buying a vacuum. Nobody's making an enterprise without talking to a human being. So like, you know,
I think you'll
it's
see
two
that.
different types of
I think
sales.
you'll see that though over time. I mean, there's, you know,
Yeah.
we signed up for servers.
Maybe.
We signed up for Amazon servers or rack-based servers or things like this. I mean, data should be able to power this. My point is, when somebody asks, am I talking to a human, that person just doesn't believe that a robot can help them like a human can. It's a security thing. And I think data can actually solve that. Smart companies, enterprise selling companies will solve it over time because it's cheaper to have robots do selling than it is to pay a human commission.
What do you
I
guys
don't
on
know
the
if
chat
we'll
rooms
have to get that in
think?
a lifetime.
You know, just say you know, Nathan or Steli, if you think you're more on the Nathan side or more on the Steli side. It's just like, you know, an informal test here. Yeah, go
Jeremy,
ahead, Max.
I don't like humans, by the way. I
No,
think they're
it's fine.
massively.
You know, given the nature of my business, I can't send a freaking email without people asking me if it's been done with my tool or if it's, you know, a genuine email. So I know exactly
Well,
what
Jeremy,
you're
hey,
thinking.
Jeremy, I don't see if these attendees are real humans or if you're manipulating this. And I don't see anybody in chat.
Damn, you
So
got
can
me.
tell us
It's my next product.
whatever
It's
you
but, you know,
say,
thinking.
it's Sally or it's Nathan. We're gonna have to fully trust your judgment because I don't see any humans in chat or what they vote.
Yeah, and the
But I
Nathan or
love that
Steady is a
Nathan disagrees.
random function, so you know it's just going to spawn some random names.
Especially in enterprise. People want to buy from people. If it were like, I mean, one day it would just be logical, right, for the plug to go right into the socket and then be like, no middleman. It would just be like the best product that fit this company's needs just went to that company. But it's not happening. People want to buy from people. They want discounts. They want to wait till the end of the month and drag it out so they can get a deal. You know, it's really just how it works right now. I don't know if we'll see, and maybe in like the next 20 years, that it's just going to be, even for enterprise software or anything like that, just automatic like that.
I think what's super
But you know, for
interesting
Amazon
here,
or anything small that I buy, I don't want to deal with humans. It's true. Anyway, to the question, latest trends in sales. Information and data is cheaper and more accessible than it ever has been. There's so many pieces of technology out there that'll surface it for you. You can do a pretty decent job of pre-qualifying and building out accounts that you were never able to do in the past. So that, you know, these terms, account-based marketing and account-based sales, are the new trendy things. Account-based intelligence. Building a full profile of an account before you go in at maybe like the Fortune 500 or, you know, enterprise level. You're able to actually do that at, you know, mid-market levels now. There's way more intelligence out there for you know, accounts at much smaller scale. So the context is available. Somebody's talking about on the chat, but you know, you can actually go and pre-qualify customers based on, you know, a kind of like internal rubric that you might have. You know, you can go find who's got funding when, how many hires they just made. There's companies like Mattermark that give you you know, proprietary growth scores based on, you know, what that company's doing in their head count, how much they're raising, things like that. As far as what's dying out, snake oil salesmen, door-to-door sales, I'd say that's dying. Empathy is timeless. You know, people buy from people, but people want a consultative sell. They want to get walked through the process. They want to feel like they're getting handheld. I think for a big enough deal, of course. For a smaller deal, I'd rather just push the purchase button and put my credit card info in. But that's for like a $99 a month type thing. I think if I'm buying, you know, a $12K a year, $10K a year up, you know, I need to speak to somebody. I need to know that I'm in good hands. I need to know there's going to be customer service available, customer support. You know, there's a lot more than just, you know, pressing the, you know, the purchase button on something like that.
well, I love the different point of view, guys. Thanks for the thought-provoking thing, Nathan. Please do that anytime. Because, you know, people also think like, you know, I still want to drive my car and yet we steal some car. So we may be in a transition phase. It's super interesting. Thanks, guys. Let's move on to the next one. what's the best tactic or strategy you've seen working lately? And we're running a bit short on time. We're only at question 4, so if you guys could just shorten the answer on that one. Who should we start with? Max, do you want to go? You just finished.
Tactic or strategy I've seen working lately.
Max, I've got one that I got from you.
Yeah, go for it.
What's that software you sent me? We have our guys use it. Persist IQ.
One of those, yeah, probably.
Persist IQ, I think. I was behind the ball with this automated stuff. Man, that's awesome. That is just really cool.
Sam, we need to chat. They're one of my competitors. I don't mind they're being mentioned, but we definitely need to chat, man. Let's take 5 minutes next. And anyway.
Well, look, basically, like
it's good. It's sales automation.
And,
definitely.
Email automation.
Email automation. I only use them because a few months ago I saw that they sponsored Sales Hacker.
Yeah, I should have done that. Sorry.
I love that. I'm going to tell them that.
You can tell them that. I saw they sponsored that.
Yeah.
And so I clicked on it. So it's not a product issue. They just happened to be in front of my face at that time. But man, that is a super powerful strategy that I was behind the ball. I think it's pretty common, right? But it works wonders if you can get good emails.
Yeah, I'd say developing a cadence using obviously there's a lot of sales automation tools out there. If you can do a semi-manual, maybe like 10-80-10. So first chunk is personal, then you have like the body that's relevant to that segment of your list, and then the last 10% is personal. So 10-80-10. Do something like that in your emails. You add that to your
cadence. Can you explain that real quick again?
What's up?
Can you explain that once more?
Yeah, so if you're writing a cold email to a group of people, maybe you segment that list out to 3 common denominators. So VPs of sales in Boston that are also in a certain industry. And so now that you have like a common denominator across those, you have the middle, the chunk of that email, the body of that email is for that segment, and then the first sentence and the last sentence are personalized. And so when you upload that into, your email, automation, whatever you use, column A, first name, column B, last name, column C, job, column D, title, column E, first sentence personal, column C, like F, whatever, fucking alphabet, last sentence personal. Then you put that in there and you upload it, it'll automatically throw it in when you go to like merge a dynamic fields. So your email will be, hey, first name, personal sentence, body for that segment, because that's your template, and then personal sentence, best. And so it looks like a personalized email. It's semi-automated. So it's definitely cutting down the time it would take to do the whole thing, manual, while giving you a manual email. But also, you need to have some personalization in there. So that's the best way that I've seen to do it. Yeah.
Nathan, you want to go? What's the best strategy?
I don't have a good one here. I would just, based off what Max just said, Max, that formula, you were just able to prescribe a formula for doing this. When you can prescribe a formula for something, it's easy to put developers on it and say, do this so I can replace every human that's doing it. I mean, we are moving towards a place where it is not going to be humans to humans selling, because that one, he only articulated in that email, 10-80-10, only 10% of it a human was needed for. You think that's not going to be replaced in the next like 1 to 2 years? It's like humans in the sales process are going to be replaced. Here's where I think humans are going to be way more valuable. It's when they're not selling something for money, but they're doing it for power or influence, right? So like if I'm trying to get Chris Sacca on my podcast, that's like and there's not a involved, but it's trying to convince somebody to do something. That's where there's not like a sales process that you can automate in an email, but you're going to have to rely on those people that can think empathetically and use traditional sales skills to get people to do what you want.
If you use services like Nova or Crystal Knows, 2 different ones that serve you up information automatically to fill in those 10-80-10 areas, you don't need a human for that. But that's only going to get you the meeting. Then you need the human. I mean, you're still looking at it as, your goal with that email is to get a meeting, to get a demo, to get a phone call, to get on this person's calendar. You know, your goal isn't to close that deal. So like you're gonna need to talk to someone at some point. I was on a panel a few months ago, and it was with a cold email expert was on the panel with me, and she was talking about the world's moving to
cold
text.
email expert. What the heck? This is like, what is this? A LinkedIn profile?
Google them. Yeah. She writes cold emails for companies.
Copyright.
Yeah.
We're gonna have
anyway
live video experts before we know it.
Hey, that's already a thing, bro.
You will. You know you will. Somebody's going to monetize that. Anyway, she's talking about the world's moving to text. People like text messages over this. I'm like, you can't send an emoji to an executive on a 17.5K, ARR deal. Like that, and that's a small deal. But the guy, I asked the guy next to me that was at a different company. I was like, what's your average deal size? He goes, 17.5K. I'm like, all right. Like nobody's closing deals through emojis and text messages. You got to get on the phone with those people. Nobody's swiping their credit card for 17.5K. So that first email that you send, that's a good email. That's going to get them on the phone. But like, there's a process that you got to follow. Like, you got to go step by step. You're not, you're not going, okay, email deal closed. You're going email, phone call, demo. This is a process to get that deal closed. And Sam and I work in the sponsorship stuff.
Max. So I don't think we're going to resolve that tonight. But that's, I think we got the point.
Are we out of time?
Yeah, we're starting to be out of time. Well, that's so obvious that I was trying to move on. Okay, so let's talk about the technology, because I think we're going to skip this one unless you guys want to talk specifically to something else than human or robot selling. Do you want to maybe mention how much you've seen being taking place by technology, maybe? Because you guys been in the business for quite some time now, so you've seen the shift happening.
Yeah,
so maybe not you, Sam, if you're lagging behind. Sorry, go ahead, Nathan.
I can't add much value on this question.
Okay, good. So maybe we can skip it. Max, do you want to add something to it?
It's big. Role technology has been huge. You're looking at pretty much every piece of the sales process now has probably 10 different solutions that are all competing with each other that do exactly the same thing. I mean, even in your bucket, I could probably name 10 companies off the top of my head that do some kind of like sales email automation. So at some point there'll be a roll up, but it's a great thing that's happening. The guys who 5 years ago would come out of the Ivy League schools and go do Twitter and Facebook apps are now building for sales. The VCs are putting their money into products to help salespeople. The guys who used to go work at Goldman Sachs right out of college are going to become AEs, account executives at B2B SaaS companies where they can make 200 or 300K off the bat. Same as Goldman, but work way less hours. So it's been pretty cool to see, what's happened over the past, even 3 to 5 years for salespeople.
Okay, if you guys got some more questions in the chat room, just don't hesitate, and I'm sure one guy will come back to you. Question 6: how do you deal with multiple channels and transition from one to another? So I've been hearing a lot in sales of, we talked a little bit about that. You start with a cold email in order to get a meeting. Then, some people also cold call. You got, webinar, social media, PR. How do you actually organize all those channels, and how do you actually move from one to another? Sam, maybe you want to start with this one on HustleCon.
Yeah, well, so we spend most of our time on the hustle, but for HustleCon, for ticket sales, we find one thing that works, and for now, since we're a early stage startup, we go all in on that one thing and try not to try too many other things. Whether that approach is correct or not, it's debatable, but for us, we find that emails are the #1 thing that we do, and so that's all we'll do. We'll only do email, and I won't worry about anything else.
Got it. So you don't transition to a second channel, like then giving a phone call. You actually purely stay on email. Is that correct?
For now, that is true.
Okay.
It will change, but as a small company with limited resources, our whole philosophy is to find the biggest needle mover and go all in on that and not focus on other things. Granted, we know that we're missing out on revenue, but in order to focus on making the company thrive, for now, as a small company, we only go on one thing and one thing only, and we just say no to everything else.
Got it. Max or Nathan, do you guys use another channel than email?
Yeah, Jeremy, I actually hate this question. I think it's a complete wrong question.
We can scrap it, it's fine.
Well, I just think it's bad. I'll tell you why.
Yes,
this is a great question if you're a tool provider to ask, because then you can say, oh, you're focused on cold calling.
No, I don't
Here's
care.
my tool.
No, absolutely not. I don't care.
Let me just,
it's not I don't have an agenda. I actually don't. That's why I'm
I wasn't just referencing you. Any CEO in this space.
Oh yeah, you mean it was a question for Stelly? How inconvenient, he's gone. So.
No, my point is you'll see CEOs of software companies go speak at a HustleCon and try and lay out this brand new framework for selling, and then strategically plug in they'll try and make a problem and then stick their tool into the problem they just articulated from stage. I think what's really important here is to think about in terms of the other side, the person you're trying to communicate with, and think about how they go through their day. Right, so like in the morning, they're hitting the alarm, they're opening their phone. When they go take the morning shit, what app are they opening first? How do you make sure that your message is in that app? And if that's PR to get in that app, maybe they read Yahoo Finance in the morning. Okay, maybe that's PR to do it. Maybe the first thing they open is Snapchat. Well, then how do you make sure you're in their Snap stream when they're sitting on the toilet in the morning, right? What are they then doing for breakfast? When they go to work, what are the first sites they're checking at work? When they get that sugar low after lunch, and everyone is always susceptible to going to the sites that they just want to be bored on, right, and click around on, how do you make sure you're in that train of thought? So I think the question is more about what is your audience thinking about at what times during the day, and which of these channels allow you to inject your message into those channels so that you increase your impressions on the consumer.
Got it, fantastic. What about your take, Max? Do you have a different spin on that one?
No, I like Nathan's answer. I think like that's what you're catering to. So, you think about it like that, then, somebody's taking their morning whatever, and you're sending in stuff on Twitter, because that's where they are. So you start the day with a tweet or a favorite, or, get on their radar. Basically just want to stay on this person's radar nonstop. There's like an old advertising adage, the 7x7 effective frequency, where, it takes 7 touches until somebody recognizes your brand. Well, if you're on Twitter, you're on LinkedIn, they're seeing you on your article on a website, they're seeing your ad, they're seeing your email, they're seeing your phone call, they're hearing your voicemail, they're going to start to recognize who you are, as long as you're doing it in a polite manner and it's persistent and not pushy or pesky. So, Nathan's take was be where they are when they're there. That's a great way to look at it. There's obviously a lot of different channels you can target.
Love it.
Jeremy, can I just add something really quick? It's fast.
Please do.
And then I'll give it back over to Sam. But like for like when we'll do an event or something like that, one of the things I love doing is people, I'll get people to fill out a survey. I'll never say fill out a survey. I'll say something more aggressive like, hey, I saw you came to my event, but we didn't meet each other. This is weird. It's like having a stranger in my home. Either click here to introduce yourself or click here to get the hell off my email list, right? So then they'll click the survey to fill it out to introduce themselves because I'm talking to a human. And one of the questions might be, what's the next live conference you're going to, right? And I'll know the date that is. Well, I'll put that into my text message marketing system. And about 2 days before that event starts, I'll send a text out to all my attendees that says, hey, I know in about a day you're about to cheat on us and go to that other event. Just want to let you know that HustleCon's thinking about you, right? Like that's going to do wonders for driving ticket sales the next time your event comes around because it's funny, it's clever, and it's timely.
What do you think,
I'm gonna
Sam?
steal that. Thank you.
Yeah, you should. Hopefully, I won't fuck up the recording, so you guys can re-listen to that. But I love it. I absolutely love it. So let me squeeze like another question, the last one. It's a quick one, hopefully. And meanwhile, guys, if you have any specific questions for our attendees, too bad for Stelly. Just put it into the chat, and hopefully we'll pick up one of them. So. Guys, what is the best book you read on selling, and how did it impact the way you sell now? Max, you want to go first because you obviously have a book on selling, so you could potentially say your one, but it's kind of
my book, Hacking Sales. Yeah, shameless promotion. So 48 Laws of Power and Greatest Salesman in the World. So Robert Greene, 48 Laws of Power, and Og Mandino, Greatest Salesman in the World, I think are my two favorite books.
How did that impact you?
They're like really. So the best thing about 48 Laws of Power, it's a massive book, and they go into kind of detail on different kind of ways to negotiate with people, deal with people, but they tell it through these fables, and the fables are entertaining, so it's a really great way to start understanding how they work, instead of just saying like, here's what it is, here's why it's important. It's like, no, here's a story of how it's illustrated, so you can actually understand how to use what they're talking about. And I've been, the greatest salesman in the world is like, I carried that with me for my entire first year at Udemy. Just like reread that thing. It's a quick read. You could probably read the whole thing in like 20 minutes on the way to work. But just goes over something like the. What's up?
Aren't you supposed to read that over 7 weeks?
Is it? I don't know. I read it straight through every time. It's like, it's great. It's fantastic. It's inspiring. Make sure you stay with it, but also like the teaches you that kind of like core principles and stuff. So, are you supposed to read it over 7 weeks?
I think so. Who's it by? OG what's his name? Yeah, you're supposed to.
It's up here somewhere.
7 weeks.
I'm looking for it. It's up there somewhere. I'll take a look.
You're supposed to read it. You're supposed to read the passages once in the morning and once at night, every single day. Yeah, you're supposed to. It's an awesome book.
Like the Sales Bible?
It's pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good.
What about you, Sam? Go for it. I know Nathan reads tons of emails, so of books.
Yeah.
So a shit tons of books. That's what I wanted to say. Not shit books. Anyway.
48 Laws of Power is badass. If you Google 48 Laws of Power summary, my blog comes up #1. So just fly. So I like it. I like those books. I learned more from biographies, though. I like Ted Turner's biography, and I like John Rockefeller's biography. So hearing stories about how they sold and their tenacity, which, like the tactics and skills needed, you can learn that pretty easily from a dozen other books. But to read biographies of people doing it successfully has been the biggest help for me. And so it's Titan, the biography of John Rockefeller. And,
in what sense is that it's possible, or is it what sense do you think it's more powerful to have biography in that sense?
Yeah, because like everyone on this webinar knows the skills needed. They know the tactics that they need to do. But the hardest part is having tenacity and going big and having the balls to do something huge. And then I think that the people you hang out with are huge influences on how you behave, and reading a biography on someone is almost like becoming their friend, and you like start to think a lot bigger because you see how big they were able to go. Got
it. So it's the closest closest possible way to come with that mindset.
Yeah, and you could just like steal stories from them and steal like quotes from them and act like you made it up and get the sale.
Okay. Nathan, go for it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna screen. I always stack my favorite sales things. These are my favorite sales books. So Sam just mentioned Titan, which is a great one. Again, Rockefeller. Bios that I also love. I love studying bios because it puts tactics in context. Michael Eisner was the CEO of Disney. So this one's called Working Together, but inside of this are like when he like negotiated deals, like huge deals, some of them have billions of dollars. The things he uses that are like psychological, like applying the 48 Laws of Power in his life, which grew Disney like just by huge amounts, and he's now a billionaire, was really powerful. Another one that's a bio that not a lot of people talk about is this one. Unfortunately, Jerry Weintraub just died, but it's called When I Stop Talking, You'll Know I'm Dead. So like you see how the tactic he uses to get Elvis Presley away from his big wig Hollywood guys, and Jerry wins the right to take Elvis on tour for just $1 million, right? So there's a lot of good sales principles in there. And then in terms of like practical stuff, I love Ray Edwards' Writing Riches when it comes to just like pure copywriting, how to write words that sell. This one is obviously one that everyone's always heard of, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which I love and I reread like a ton. And then there's also like story-related ones that I like reading, which are let me see here, things like this is written by a playwright. It's called Save the Cat. I mean, a lot of sales is storytelling, and if you can help the person, that's watching your story actually feel your story, it becomes easier to sell to them. So I study a lot of storytelling books as well. And then the last one that I've got for you is Jay Abraham's book, Getting Everything You Can Out of All You've Got. It's a really, really good one. Just, again, practical things to use, headlines, psychology, everything. So those are the books that I read that I love related to sales.
Brilliant. Thanks a lot. So we only got like 5 more minutes. We were supposed to go into Q&A already like 10 minutes ago. But I'm glad we didn't, because the book recommendation was super cool. There was a question. We talked about persistence, and Dave actually asked, people talk about the need to have like so many touch points in sales. When do you think, enough is enough, or do you actually ever stop, in terms of follow-ups, whether it's, by call, Twitter, whatever kind of thing, but when do you actually, stop following up, or if you ever stop following up? At what point do you actually, call it a day and then stop?
Well, for me, it's a frequency. I don't know what Sam and Max thinks. For me, it's a frequency question. So like, when I'm cold emailing a venture capitalist because I want them to go on the podcast, if I hit them, with I use a variety of tools. Unfortunately, a lot of these tools are not actually secure. So I built my own tool that I use that allows me to track opens in Gmail and send auto reply follow-ups and things like that. That I'll never set. Well, maybe I will, but I only use it for myself. And I'll just put people on different frequencies. So this person, send a bump email to in the same thread, every day until they respond. This person, bump it every week until they respond. If they don't respond after 3 weeks, stop for 6 months and then start it again. So I write if-then statements every time I write an email, and I kind of have that automated.
Do you pre-write all the emails, or do you actually just, get like a, boomerang kind of thing coming back to you and you say, oh, yeah, it's time to send the next email?
Yeah, it's like, what I use is basically I paid a lot of money to have an engineering team build a tool just for myself that's like Boomerang, it's like follow-up, it's like these things, but it's built specific to my needs, and I'm the only one on the server, so everything's really secure.
What about you, Sam? When do you actually stop following up with someone who say, nah, not interested?
Yeah, I was thinking about this. I don't have a rule. It's totally by instinct. If I had good rapport with them, I'll never stop. I'll just become friends with them. And then when we want to, when they're ready to buy whatever I have, then they'll think of me. But yeah, I don't think you ever stop. I mean, yeah, I don't have a rule. There's no rule. If I've developed a good relationship with them, then I don't ever stop. We always they become buddies.
And how do you keep up with those buddies?
I like to friend everyone on Facebook, where I'm really active and I can talk to people all the time. And typically on Facebook, it's really simple. I just become friends with them, and I literally on Facebook, and I'll like a lot of the stuff they post that I like, and become buddies. I mean, like I don't have a hard rule, but usually I friend them on Facebook, or I'm thinking about them, I just send them an email.
Got it. Max, do you want to answer this one, and then I think we'll have to close because I already abused your time too much.
Yeah, I gotta get going. Yeah, I mean, if they tell me to stop, maybe I'll ask them a follow-up question about kind of, what's going on. But usually we'll put them back on a cycle like 6 months later. If not, we'll just keep them in the queue until they respond.
You receive a lot of insults from that 6 months later? You again.
Yeah. New people buy new things, so hopefully somebody takes their job, and then we can go back and sell to that person.
So you do an account-based follow-up. You actually, follow up with the company rather than with the individual.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting.
You're following up with different areas of the account. You have to have the mapped structure.
Got it. All right, so we're closing down. Thanks for thanks a lot, Max, Nathan, Sam, and Screw Stelly for dropping mid-call. So as a rule, like Sam already experienced it, then I'm going to invite Stelly for the next one, and hopefully it'll stick around. But do you have like any closing comments or anything, guys? Again, thanks a lot. That was super fun to have you guys online.
Go to HustleCon, come to Sales Machine, get my book, Hacking Sales. Nathan, I don't know what you're working on now, but I plug it too.
Jeremy, you should sponsor Sales Hacker. Otherwise, I would have used you instead of the other one.
No, it's okay. I mean, I'm still a small company, hugely profitable, customer funded, but I'm still a small company, so I'm not sure. It was a great. Oh man, I can't recall where I heard that, but it's like you guys know Moneyball, the movie, fantastic movie, plenty of business quotes, and it says if we play to the Yankee here, we'll lose to the Yankee there, and I think it's the same thing. They got big pocket, they got big money, so I'm not going to use the same strategy as them, and it's fine. I respect what they're doing, and they're a good product too, and people should check it out. Happy with that.
Cool. Let me know when you're ready.
Good politically correct answer.
It's the only one I know.
We'll be here.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate.
Sam, good luck at the conference. Thanks, Jeremy. Bye-bye.
Thanks, bye.
See you guys.
Good, Nathan.